Welcome back. Next, we're going to talk about user experience research as a great method to inform our design decisions. Let's get started. UX research doesn't need a complicated definition. It's any activity that allows us to gather information about our users and about our designs. It starts by asking the right questions, whether from our stakeholders or if we can find representative users, we'll ask them directly. Finding out what those questions are really comes from a little bit of research on its own. The best way to really understand our users is to do some research. And research can come from so many different sources. Let's go through some of them now. Market research typically comes from third parties and will be an aggregate of users' opinions on specific products or services. A lot of market research data will be available freely on the web, but some has to be bought. Depending on the complexity of your industry vertical, you may want to make an investment in a professional market research paper to help inform your design decisions. Another great source for user research is analytics. Analytics can be performed on a website or a mobile application, and it monitors the activity that users take throughout those applications. We'll be able to see what pages are viewed, how much time is spent, and where a user goes from point A to point B and anywhere after that. Operational data is extremely helpful as a research tactic. Although, without a previous application or website, operational data may not be available, and neither will web analytics. If you can get access to users, interviews with them can be extremely helpful as a research tactic as well. Surveys are very similar. Effectively, a survey is capturing multiple feedback points from users. Focus groups are organized events where specific user types are recruited into one place to discuss a topic. The group is usually moderated by a professional who asks the right questions. Focus groups can be very effective in discovering specific user intent and motivation. Usability research can be defined as a method for testing a specific interface or prototype on a user. You'll get real-time feedback from specific users that are on your application. That will help you make specific design decisions or repair or fix issues that occur. As you can imagine, there are so many reasons to perform design research. Going in blindly on any project won't really help your outcome. Design research informs the design of our products and services. It also helps us validate assumptions and reduces the cost of reaching success. Design research is a little bit of a shortcut into making our design decisions. Taking some comparative analysis into play, we can understand best practices in specific industries and learn from our competition. Nick Remus from Adaptive Path defines design research as the work that uncovers and articulates the needs of individuals and groups in order to inform the design of products and services in a structured manner. Let's take a look through this list of design research types. Analytics is a great way of understanding customer behavior. If your client has a previous digital property that has analytics installed, that would be a great place to start. Card sorting is an activity that has users take specific categories or product names and group them together in the way that they would expect to see them. By getting real users to perform a card sort, you'll gain real behavioral data. Participatory design is the co-creation of a design mockup with a user sitting next to you. As you can imagine, this type of design will allow you to ask your user specific questions about facets of your design and gain immediate feedback. A/B testing is a technique where we take a controlled version of a design and then we create a variation of it. A user will land on a user interface, a digital property like a website or an app, and they will see either the variation or the control, the A or the B. And depending on how well each one of those performs, we will be able to make a decision on the better design. Usability testing allows us to have real users test a prototype of our interface. This can be very informative in later stages of our design. Intercepts are quite interesting. Sometimes known as guerrilla testing, an intercept will stop someone and ask them their first impressions of the design. A field study is an ongoing research methodology that allows you to observe users and gather feedback. A diary study lets the user take charge of that feedback and record it on their own time. Surveys, as previously noted, are great ways of collecting data from a large set of people on specific questions that either have a quantitative or a qualitative result. User interviews can't be replaced. If you can speak directly to a user or a customer of a client, you'll gain a lot of valuable information that can't be replaced by stakeholders. Now that we've taken the time to review design research methods and understand the value of it during the strategy plane, let's turn that back to our user personas and see if we can use some design research methods to inform user personas for our favorite client, the D&K Shady Nook. I'm sure you remember this from last week. The Shady Nook, of course, has the world's worst B&B website, and you've taken some time to evaluate it. That in itself is research, but you'll have to combine that firsthand experience with other research sources to help inform the primary audience segment for the Shady Nook. Who are the Shady Nook's users? Take some time, do a little bit of research into bed and breakfasts, the Stratford area, specific users who may engage in bed and breakfasts over hotels. Look for hospitality industry reports and come up with a paragraph that describes who you think the Shady Nook's primary user is. You don't have to define it as detailed as a persona. It doesn't have to be a representative character. All I'm looking for are a few points about demographic and psychographic qualities to represent the primary audience segment. So we spent some time talking about design research methods in the strategy plane and how that will help inform defining the audience for a specific client. We'll see you in the next module.